Ivan will call on you to lead us tonight. Yes, best way neighbors do it.
Thank you, Commissioner Bennett. Would you pray with me? Well, Father, we thank you for your blessings. You know, we just previous to beginning honored some folks, and they have just gone above and beyond. But there are so many more folks that I wish that we could bring and say thank you to. And that will only be noted one day in the throne when you will say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. So, Father, thank you for those who bless others, who deny themselves and give. Wow. Thank you, Father. Is absolutely going to be stars in their crowns. Father, thank you for the opportunity to come together tonight and to be with all these wonderful people. I ask for guidance and wisdom in every decision that is made. Lord, we're going to thank you and praise you that it will be great and the outcome will be great. Lord, I pray for this great nation. Lord, for all of our leaders all the way across this country. And Lord, I pray for our military and folks everywhere, law enforcement, EMS, fire, anybody that is in potentiality of harm's way. I call a Psalms 91 protection over them. Father, thank you for being so good. We love you. Thank you, Lord. You're faithful, and we're grateful. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Flag, one nation, God.
All righty then. I guess now we can call the roll, Mr. Neighbors, if you're ready.
This is the Pledge of Allegiance. Where are you at, Mr. Atwood?
All right. We're getting back into the groove of things tonight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're ready for roll call. If you'll take your handsets, those of you who are present, and just press yes and stop right. It'll stop you right there. Just press yes and stop right there. All right. Those of you who are by phone, I'm going to call your name, and you'll just say present for me, if you will do that. Mr. Ford?
Present for you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Miss Tays?
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Randolph? Mr. Randolph?
Here.
Thank you, sir.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Donadio?
Here, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right. Chief Holmes?
Here.
All right. And Ms. Dunn, are you still here?
I am.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Mr. Chairman, you have all 24 members present. There is a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Item number 5 is approval of the agenda.
Motion approved.
Second.
A motion and a second on the agenda. Any discussion? Favor the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 5, approval of number 6 of the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion second on the minutes. Any discussion? Favor that motion, say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. And that motion carries. Item number 7 is unfinished business. We'll start with standing committees, planning.
Thank you, Chairman. First up, we've got item number 1.
Mr. Chair, unfinished business.
I'm so sorry. No unfinished business.
Quite all right. Physical review.
No unfinished business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and nominating.
No unfinished business.
Thanks again, Madam Chair. Item B is report of special committees. Do we have any reports? Any other unfinished business? All right, moving to 8, new business and action thereon. We'll start with the standing committees, and this time, Madam Chair, we're going to start with planning.
Meeting in person's got me all discombobulated. So, haven't been around people enough, you know? So, sorry about my snafu earlier.
No problem.
And thank you, Chairman Atwood. All right, first up we have number 1, consider recommendations from the road committee to add Westtown Avenue, Westtown Circle, and Westtown Way as county roads to the county road list, and I so move.
Second.
Got a motion second on adding the roads. Any discussion on those?
The only,
Hearing none-
question, the only question I have, that is the new road that's out there off the grade, correct?
You subdivision.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
If you will, let's use our things. I'll know you're wanting something. I don't want to miss anybody. I promise you I don't. I'm sorry?
He's pressed to speak.
Somehow I'm missing him.
You want to speak?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, he's got.
I'm sorry. I didn't. Now I apologize. Yes, sir, Commissioner. You're recognized. Thank you.
I think back 20 years ago or so, and I was in law enforcement here in Cookeville. And one of the things that was a little bit frustrating for those of us in emergency services where we're trying to find an address relatively quickly is when we have numerous streets close together with similar names. So I know this is trivial. Usually these things just sail right through. But I think it's kind of important that the streets have distinct names other than simply Drive, Court, Way, etc. I might be the only one, but I'm going to vote no just for that reason. I think we need to clarify these names and differentiate these names just a little bit, if for no other reason, for the purpose of emergency services and any unnecessary delays that similar names might cause.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate your comments. Any other comments? Statements? Favor the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Don't favor the motion, say no.
No.
All right.
No.
Got 2 no's. Thank you, Commissioners. All right, Madam Chair.
All right, number 2, consider approval for the Sheriff's Department to transfer a 2009 compressed air system to the Putnam County School System Transportation Department, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a
Second.
second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Favor the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Madam Chair.
Item number 3, consider approval for the Sheriff's Department to transfer a 1994 Rogers Brothers lowboy to the Putnam County Highway Department, and I so move.
Second.
The motion-
Second, Donadio.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on item C? Favor the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Ms. Dunn.
Item number 4, we deferred to the full commission. Consider the timeline and process of selling the old fairgrounds property. Do I move on that or not? Because we deferred it to full, we didn't vote on it.
I think it'd be
Motion to
better,
approve.
Chairman, if you hear from my presentation, and there's going to be a motion that you would need to make after that, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I put a little short presentation together. We've been talking about the sale of the fairgrounds for a while. The committee actually has met once on it already, so I'm bringing it to the full commission to consider. Basically, you have 4 options. We originally thought there were only 3 options, but you have 4 options as to selling property. The last one I'm going to let Attorney Jeff Jones talk about. It's one that we just found out about recently. The first one is by sealed bids, public auction, internet auction, and private sale. So sealed bids is kind of like we do when we bid out something. We would advertise it in the newspaper. Any interested parties would submit a sealed bid, and then the highest and the best bid would win. The thing about this is this would not be good for the county, as it does not allow you to see those bids ahead of time. You would not know who is bidding. You would have to award the bid afterwards. It just doesn't, it's not very conducive for the selling of property in my mind. The second type is, of course, a public auction, where we hire an auctioneer and we pay an auctioneering fee or a sales fee. It's only limited to parties that show up at the public auction, and with COVID and everything right now, I don't know what kind of turnout you would have for a public auction. Most of your large retail development people would not come to a public auction, and then you have no control over who's going to purchase the property. It would go to the highest bidder. Then we have an internet auction, which is kind of the signs of the time right now with most things selling like that. You do a contract with an internet auction company, pay a sales fee or a percentage of the sales for doing it. Normally you would set a minimum bid. So the minimum, you'd say we'd take 10 million or 11 million or whatever the minimum you would take for it. And then if somebody bids higher than that, it would go to the highest bidder, and you also have no control over who the buyer would be. It opens the process up, though, to where you would have bidders maybe coming from all over the United States. You could have bidders from even outside the United States. The thing about that is you don't know if somebody's going to buy it or not. If it doesn't meet the minimum bid, then you'd still be out the fee that you're going to pay for the auction to happen. And then the third one is one that we just found out about, where that we actually can do a private sale. And I'm going to let Attorney Jeff Jones talk about it just a few minutes before we go into it.
Counties ordinarily operate under a financial management system. There are different financial management systems under the statutes. There's a Financial Management Act of 1957, one of 1981. Well, Putnam County doesn't operate under either one of those. We operate under what's called a private act management. Essentially, the county mayor is the purchasing agent for the county, and we operate under the general law. Okay? And the general law basically says that you, as the county commission, can operate and do whatever you feel is in the best interest of the county. What we did was to make certain that we were covered on this one, because this is such a large piece of property and it's valued so high. I sent a legal opinion to the comptroller's office, to the attorneys at the state, to get their buy-in on this, because we don't want to have an audit finding on something such as this if you guys were to decide that we were going to do this at a private sale. After some consideration, we heard back from the comptroller's office that they agreed with our opinion on this, that this is something that we can sell at a private sale, so long as, number one, you guys approve the method, number two, that you find that it's in the best interest of the county to sell this property, to declare it basically surplus and sell it, okay? And then number three, that we get a fair price for it, and that presumes that we've done an appraisal, and Mayor Porter's ahead of the curve on that, because there's been an appraisal for over a year now, and that was updated here not too long ago. And number four, that we avoid any kind of appearance of impropriety or any kind of conflict, so there can't be any self-dealing or anything such as that. And I don't think that's going to be a problem in this situation, because it's such a high-profile piece of property. So if that's the way that we decide to go, and you think that it's in the best interest of the county to proceed in that manner, then that's what we can do. But you have to find those three things and then avoid the conflict.
So basically the way that would work if we decided to do this is you would approve for me to put it out to the general public and across the country through some of our partners that the property's for sale, open it up for anybody to contact me that's interested in it, and then those people start making proposals to the county as to what they'd be willing to give for it and what their intentions are for putting on the property. That's my big thing. I think it is some of you from some of the conversations I've had with you, is that we're concerned about what might go on the piece of property. Of course, it's inside the city, it's zoned, and so there don't be certain things that go without the city zoning. The positive for this is that we could target large retail developments, trying to get somebody that would open up some kind of big store on it that would bring in sales tax along with property tax. There's no sales fee for us doing it. It'd be a private contract that we would do with whoever's going to buy it. And it gives you the chance to be in full control of what the selling price is and who you sell it to. In my mind, out of all those options, probably the two best ones are the internet auction and the private sales auction. So if you decided on this one, you'd probably give me 60 days or whatever to put this out, work with folks, get you the best deal we possibly could, bring it back to the full commission, give you the full details on what that would be. You make the decision, did you want to sell it to this buyer at that price? you did, that's great. If you didn't, it wouldn't happen. If there's more than one offer or more than one deal, you can go to the second one. Or if you decide, well, okay, we didn't get anything we really good we wanted, then you could go back and put it out for internet sale as an auction, and you haven't lost any money. The only thing that's been involved has been my time to do it. I'm not saying that this is what I want you to do. I just want you to have all the options that's out there for you to be able to make a wise decision. So the steps and what you need to do for us to start this process is, number one, you got to declare the property surplus. Once you've done that, then you got to decide on which option do you want to take as far as us to sell it. And then if you use the public auction or internet auction, you've got to set a minimum price that you're willing to take for it. If you use the other two options, you don't have to do that, as we have the ability to negotiate on the final one. The sealed bid you don't, but you do on the final one. So that's kind of where we're at. I want to bring it to you and answer any questions you might have, and the commission needs to be thinking about making a decision as to what you want to do.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, in order, I know this sounds backwards, but I need a motion before a discussion is held. And the first item you wanted to do is declare it surplus. Is that
Yes,
not a necessary?
Motion to declare it surplus, Donadio.
Just a second, please. Is to declare it, and I'll need a motion, and then we'll start discussion. Commissioner Christopher, and I'll get you first. So second. I believe, Mr. Donadio, did you not make a motion to declare it surplus?
I did. Motion to declare it surplus.
And did I second? I've got a second. Now open it for discussion, sir.
Great, thank you. So is there anything in going the private sale route, County Attorney Jones, is there?
And I'm sorry, but that's not the motion right now. And I apologize. I know that right now we're voting on to declaring it surplus.
Well,
then we'll discuss the options.
I'm not discussing. I'm asking a question for clarification.
But it's not
presentation.
It's not pertinent to the motion that's on the floor. That's what I'm saying. We're talking about declaring surplus. Does everybody understand? That's the motion, and then we'll move to the next motion. And again, I apologize. I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to follow the rules.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
just so the property that you're talking about, Mayor, is both the fairgrounds and the piece across?
Just the fairground.
Just the fairgrounds. Okay, thank you.
We're working on that. There's a committee looking at that, working with an architect on the other piece. We'll discuss later.
Commissioner Dunn.
What does it mean once we declare a property as surplus? What does that mean to us?
Basically, it means that you don't, it's not necessary for the county to hold it in its assets and inventory, and it can sell it for a price, for the best price. That's, of course, a decision that you guys make.
Right.
Any other questions or discussion? Again, folks, we're voting on declaring it as surplus. Everybody understand? I'm glad we're together because I can look at faces and see if there's confusion. All right. Favor the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, second part, and now I'll need another motion, regardless, to begin a discussion on that.
I'll make a motion. I'll second that as well.
Well, which motion are you making? That it needs to be specific about the options that we're talking about.
I like the private sale personally.
So are you making a motion that we enter into a private sale on
Yes,
this
sir.
property?
Yes.
And are you seconding that?
I will second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second, and now we'll go into the discussion. Commissioner Christopher, I believe this is what you wanted to speak to.
Thank you. So are there any sticky situations we could get into with the private sale? For instance, if Mayor Porter says, you know, I don't like Alabama football, so anybody who contacts us from Alabama, I'm not going to take any of their offers. I'm not going to have those conversations. Are there a set of guidelines we would need to be aware of in this kind of private sale?
Well, yeah, yes and no, okay? I know that sounds like a lawyer answer. You're a lawyer, so I'm giving it to you. But basically this, first of all, you got to have some faith in your county official that's going to bring this back to you, because you guys are going to be the ultimate decision makers on this. That's the first thing. Second thing is, and you're tracking exactly what the comptroller's attorney said to me, was that we have got to look out for an appearance of impropriety, and we have to avoid conflicts if we can. All right, that's paramount. So in this particular situation, if Mayor Porter has got a conflict with somebody who likes Alabama football or something such as that, then he needs somebody else to be doing the dealing here. Because what his job is to bring the best price to this commission using the best method that you guys decide to utilize, right?
But it's also, it's best price, but it's also there, like you mentioned, it gives you some control over what would go there, right? So you would listen to their bids of not only price, but what their intentions are.
And you always have the option, even after the 60 days. Let's assume that you go the private sale route to start off with, and you don't like what you hear. You can back up and redo it if that's what your decision is. You guys are the ultimate decision makers. You drive the stagecoach on this thing.
And it's Bulldog, Georgia Bulldog.
You good, Commissioner? That answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, Commissioner Dunn.
Yes. So if this body votes to go with the private sale, will you be able to advertise that on CoStar and LoopNet? Those are the two largest commercial aggregators out there on the web. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
My thoughts is we'd hit every possibility there is out there. City of Cookeville has a contract with Retail Strategies that has contacts with huge amount of developers. Both of those sites, we put it out to everybody, and my goal is keeping a record of every person that's interested with every offer, so that there's no questions. And I'm going to bring you the best one, but there's always going to be this list here that you'll be able to see if you want to of all the offers that have been made and who they were from. I know there's some concerns with some of the commissioners and with some of the people that live in the area of what would actually be put on that piece of property. This gives you a little more control of what that's going to be, where the other doesn't.
And the other part I was wanting to ask about with the private sale, and if there were the possibility of hopefully there would be multiple offers, and you were talking about we could just choose or go down the line. Could we not do it like we do it in traditional real estate, where you could call for a highest and best offer from those interested parties?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And let me add this also to dovetail with what you had asked Commissioner Christopher. It's in the county's best interest to maximize our return on this thing, because that's what we need to fund the exposition center. So I think that's driving the bus on this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Commissioner Williams.
Thank you. Mayor Porter, do you, without naming names, do you have any pretty good prospects at this point?
I had one very good one that I found out about 2 weeks ago that is not interested now. That was about 2 years ago. That doesn't mean that they won't get interested once they find out that y'all have done this. But I have another one that we have contacted that in the process of talking to, but I have not actually talked to yet. So no, I don't have a hot contact sitting there just waiting to jump at this. That's what you're asking.
Okay. I know we have a motion on the floor, and I'll look at those guys and see if you're willing to entertain a substitute motion. We have a private sale is what we're looking at, and I agree with that, but I don't want to leave it open-ended and indefinite. If you all would entertain a substitute, I would like to authorize private sale, but if something is not under contract by the July meeting of this year, that we bring it back on the agenda and revisit the type of sale that we do.
Sure.
Would either one of you guys entertain that as a substitute?
Absolutely. I would.
What day in July?
The meeting, whatever day the meeting is in July. If it's not under contract by the July meeting, that it gets placed on the agenda and we revisit the type of sale.
Letter of interest or contract?
Yeah, don't say contract.
Okay, then.
Because you've got to prove it before I could do a contract.
Okay, then whatever you real estate experts recommend is the way we need to go. But I just don't want to leave this open-ended for time. I want to put this on a schedule and let's bring it back if it hasn't moved forward.
I was thinking 60 to 90 days, Commissioner Williams. So yeah, if
that
we
would be
don't
a little over 90, I think, if we went to July.
Yeah.
Everybody understand what he just did?
Yep.
Put us on a timeline. All right. Commissioner Rawaz.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Of course, sealed bid, the biggest concern I have about that, you did say it would only be newspaper. You were, so when I saw sealed bid, I was hoping it would be open, like widespread, but it looks like it's just newspaper.
Well, that's only the requirement, Commissioner, is for it to go in the local newspaper. If you decide you want to do sealed bid, we'd put it on all these websites and all other places too. But you're limited. People only get to submit one bid, and that's it. there is no going backwards and forwards with the people. It's just one bid, and then you have to look at those bids and pick out which one you think's the best one, and that's it. All these others give you an option for people to bid against each other and to try to get the best price for the property.
That's why when you mentioned private sale, I didn't realize, like you said, just recently that came to our knowledge that we're able to do that. I was excited when we heard about that because the other three options, like you said, you're very limited in your ability to know who's going to be able, and also even whether you approve or dismiss whoever's coming through. And of course, also with the on-site bidding, like you said too, the retail, which I think overall for the community, I guess people have different views on it, but overall for listening to people in the community, the retail options I think are most preferable for our sales tax revenue, quality of life options, that sort of thing as well. So to me, it seems like private sale is the best way to go in order to try to find a way to bring to the citizens what might be the best.
Well, if we do that, we at least say we did everything we possibly could to get the most money and the best value out of the property. And then if I can't find somebody and can't bring you back a great deal, then you can go to one of the other options and we'll try selling it by auction.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bennett.
This may be directed more to Mr. Jones. To eliminate the conflict of interest, would it not be better that Mayor Porter presented to us all the offers, not just the one best, but all of them? Let us look through them, and then we can all agree on that.
That'd be up to you guys as to whether or not you'd want to have all the offers.
I mean, I'd like to see what all's on the table. I mean, you make the recommendation, but I think if we did that, then, you know, any of the other parties can't say they didn't get a fair shot in front of the commission.
It will be a public document. Well, it'll be a public document, won't it, Jeff, once it's completed?
Yeah, I mean, if he's keeping it at his office, it is a public document.
Yeah,
That's
so
exactly
I'd be happy
right.
to bring you whatever it is.
But Grover, to your question, it does make sense for there to be a lot of transparency, which is exactly what Mayor Porter's talking about here.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing, Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would say to that is we might have to give some of the companies a project name because there's going to be companies that may want to buy that and they don't want their competitors to know that they're the ones that's buying it until it's already an official deal. We get into that all the time. So it might be something that it may have a project name instead of saying that it's whoever, whatever. I don't want to throw out a name of a company because that'll be the company everybody thinks that I'm looking at. So
right, I'm just wanting to see what the dollar amount, what they're going to put on the property, what kind of revenue it's going to generate for the county.
Yeah, we can do that. Maybe not use names on some of them.
Mr. Mayor, if I may ask a question on on your previous comment, but the transparency to this body who will make the decision will be important. Who that is. If you do give them a name, in other words, can we have attorney-client privilege to discuss who and what is going on that property? Because we just discussed that would have relevance as far as our approval is what it actually is. Is that a fair question, and do you understand what I'm asking?
I understand what you're asking. I understand why you're asking it. I'm not sure that we can do that, though. To have an attorney-client privilege meeting, it has to be where you have pending litigation or in anticipation of litigation. And hopefully we would not anticipate litigation in a situation like this. Hence the reason for having like a Project Victor or a project whatever, like you've seen before. Right?
So I assume, again, for transparency, is there some way that we can make the commission at least aware, and hopefully they will keep it under their hat? Because again, I think that's part of the decision that we're allowing ourselves under if we stay with this private act. So just a comment, Commissioner Wilson.
Okay, you mentioned when we spoke about this earlier, we were talking about certain things, what could go on that property. What types of restrictions are on the property currently, or can we put on the property? As first part of my question. Go ahead.
No, okay. Currently, there are no restrictions on the property.
Okay.
It is governmentally owned, so it's not subject to the same zoning regulations like you would a private piece of property out in the city somewhere.
Okay, so but do we need to put something on there to prohibit something from going on there that would necessarily be in best interest of us as a county?
Once you put it on the market and you sell it, then it's going to become subject to the zoning regulations of the city of Cookeville at that time.
I understand that. So it's going to default back to the city.
Exactly.
Okay. And the last question I've got about this, Mayor, is that I assume, as we've discussed in the past, that in your communications with these potential buyers, they are going to know that we would like to have one last fair at our fairgrounds.
Yes, sir. And I think by the time we go through this process, I don't think there'd be any way by the time you would vote on it and the process would take place in the closing that it could happen any time before that. But yes, that's one of the stipulations that I think everybody wants, is to allow that one last fair there.
Thank you, sir. That's all.
Commissioner Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I personally think that our best direction would be to, if we can control it in any way, is to sell it to someone or a company or corporation that will be doing business on a retail basis, where we can generate retail sales tax as well as the real estate and other taxes. I think that would be, for the future of this community, I think that would be better, because if we know we're going to grow, and if we grow as we anticipate, the retail sales is going to be important, more important as we move down the road. The other comment that I have is, this is a valuable piece of property. I'm not sure that this body is equipped to search out the best prospects, and that's what it comes down to sometimes, is to get your best dollar from your investment. Sometimes it's good to go search out those that are in the business and let them do some front end work for you and give us some suggestions. I know there's a cost to that, but I do believe there's some value in it too, because we're novices. I mean, all of us have a piece of expertise, but I'm not sure that we are equipped to ourselves as a body to get the best dollar ourselves. We're gonna need some help on that. So I think we ought to consider doing that.
Oh, I definitely surround myself with folks that will help do that.
Great questions, comments. Commissioner Cassidy.
I see my time and the floor to Commissioner Rogers.
My button won't work, Mr. Chairman. I don't know. I guess you don't want me to speak. I don't know what's going on.
Don't blame that on me, please.
The only thing I was going to say, if you're wanting Mr. Bennett to know everything, we can always call a work session. We just can't deliberate to a decision. So a work session just has to be advertised in adequate notice, and that's usually 3 days, because the law don't say what the notice is. So Mr. Chairman or Mr. County Mayor could call a work session. We can meet and convene. He could tell us what the offers are. That would be Mr. County Attorney and Mr. Jones.
Yeah, you could have a work session. The challenge would be to maintain the confidentiality of the people that you're talking to, but also give you the information that you need to make a decision. So, hence Project Victor or Project whatever. You know what I'm saying.
And I'll say, Mr. Chairman, that Jim and all the media, Larry, and all the medias that we've worked with, they have been great. If we say you can't say anything about this, they don't. And so I don't have any problem with, I don't think that's going to be an issue going forward, is if we have a work session and share that information, that it be publicized. They're in this community also, and they want to see things happen too, so I don't see that being an issue.
Thank you, Mr. Cassidy, for recognizing me there.
Thank you, and you weren't on my screen. I apologize. I promise.
My button won't work. I don't know I've hit it 1,000 times.
All right, I've got a commissioner who wants to speak, but is there anyone who hasn't spoke that wants to speak before I recognize her? Anyone who has not spoke that wants to? Commissioner Dunn.
I just wanted to reiterate, when you're dealing with commercial contracts, it will have to be in project names, because these guys will walk if they think that their name gets out there. It happens every day in our community. Even if it has the appearance that they think it got out, they'll pull out. So just wanted to reiterate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great questions and comments. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Bennett.
Timeline. You're talking about trying to put this up for sale shortly and
Immediately.
do something this July.
My goal is to bring you something back before July.
And when do you anticipate the last fair at the fairgrounds? 2021 or 2020?
End of July, 1st of August, their fair schedule for this year.
This year. Okay.
Any other questions, guys? All right, so that you understand the motion on the floor, we are asking for approval to enter into a private sale and have a date, a timeline for that to be reported to us by the July meeting, commission meeting. Everybody clear on that motion?
And if I understood right, Mr. Mayor, you said even before July, if at all possible, right?
Absolutely, and you never know how fast you're going to find someone. The economy's picking back up. Of course, ours in Tennessee's been great the last several months, and so you never know how fast that'll happen. It could be in a week or two, and it could be 2 or 3 months, and I may not find anybody that I think is bringing back a good offer for it. We'll just have to work through that process. And let me say this too, Commissioner Atwood and I work very well together. I've always tried to involve the Chairman Rogers, whoever's the chairman of the commission is going to be in the know on this too. So it's not going to be just like it's me sitting there knowing everything. So there'll be another person, and of course my budget director's involved in all the things we have. So there'll be multiple people involved, but we'll all be, my guess, having to sign non-disclosures with these folks that you won't be mentioning names and stuff as we work through it. But it'll be a very fair process, and we'll work through it and see what happens.
All right. Great comments, great questions. Any other? We're ready to vote. Favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Aye.
no. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Number 5, consider the approval of the resolution opposing House Bill 0366, Senate Bill 1604. And I so move.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the bill? Favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those, I apologize, folks. Yes, Commissioner Williams.
Thank you. I heard some of the conversation. I was on the phone for the planning committee meeting, so I was just listening in. I did have a fairly lengthy conversation with Representative Williams and Senator Bailey. I believe it was yesterday, and we are on the verge of passing a resolution to oppose legislation that those two actually sponsored. When I asked them about it, I'm not sure why this resolution is on the table, or who put it on here, and that's irrelevant, I guess. But I'm going to oppose this resolution. I want to explain why. If I have a piece of property and a government entity wants to take it for a road or something else, I'm entitled to just compensation for that piece of property. What has been going on is certain local governments have been, as a condition of a developer subdividing land, requiring them to donate property without any compensation to the local governments, and I don't think that's really right. I know that my opposition, or if this passes, it could cost local governments just a little bit more money, but in this case, it's the right thing to do because I think the private citizen and private property trumps government interest in most cases. So in talking to Representative Williams, what he's saying is, again, if TDOT wants your land, they're going to pay for it. The state wants your land for something else, they're going to pay for it. But only if you subdivide your land are certain local governments requiring individuals or developers to donate that land as a condition of getting their plat approved. So what this does is, rather than requiring them to donate land, it requires them to set up what's called a right-of-way reservation, which is a subtle but important difference. Right-of-way reservation simply says you can't build something on this piece of land in anticipation that at some point in the future we may need to build a road on it. However, you don't have to donate it, and should a later time come when the county or city or whomever decides that they need to build on that, that at that time, they would give you the just compensation that you're owed for taking your property. So I can't support this. I can't support this resolution because I think private property matters. And if the government's going to take it, they need to be paid for it. So I will vote no.
Thank you. Commissioner Dunn.
Yes, I have the summary for that bill. It's just a couple of sentences that I'll share with everyone. It says that this prohibits a governmental entity from requiring a right-of-way dedication that requires a landowner to transfer ownership of any portion of the landowner's property located along an existing public right-of-way to the government entity as a condition of approving any application made to the governmental entity. It specifies that a government entity may require a right-of-way reservation as a condition of approving any proposed subdivision of a property. Specifies that a real estate licensee has no duty to inform any party of the real estate transaction concerning the right-of-way reservation. So that's the summary of that bill. And it actually, it amends, it will amend the Tennessee Code annotated if it passes Title 13, Title 62, and Title 66 relative to property located along existing rights-of-way. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dunn. If I may, I'm going to give the floor to the Vice Chair, Mr. Martin, because I want to make some comments, if I may. So, Mr. Chair, if you'll assume the chairmanship, I'm going to speak as Commissioner Atwood and not as Chairman Atwood. I'm thankful to have served on Putnam County Regional Planning for about the entire time I've been in Cookeville, Putnam County. This issue has come before us every time there's a development. Every time there is a piece of property set aside for development, the surveyors have presented this argument. I think based upon what you see in this, the resolution or the comments toward the resolution is the cost that's involved in that. Now, a couple of things can happen. Either we can build our budget to be able to absorb those costs if they occur, or deny the development. If you can't pay for it, then what do you do, I guess? The second part of what I want to say is when that developer decides to buy a piece of property and develop it, he has certain costs that he bakes into that purchase and into that development. He's got to build the roads up to county standard. He's got to bring them to us, and then we will maintain them. He's got to supply that subdivision with power, and all that is baked into the cost to which he charges per lot. In the past, this has been that same thing. It has been developed and with the understanding that that's part of his cost of doing the development. I don't personally think that we as a county can sustain purchasing the right-of-ways that in the past we have required for developments. I don't also think that it's going to diminish the number of developments because it hasn't so far. We're in a growing county. People want to come here. People want to live here, and folks want to build houses or apartments or whatever the case may be. So from the financial standpoint of this, I'm going to support it. Again, I think it's the right thing for our county, and I don't really see it as seizing something that we haven't done in the past and that they haven't anticipated being part or cost of their development. So, Mr. Chair, that's all I have to say.
I'll relinquish back to the former chairman. You take it from here.
I really can't take the chair because I've spoken. So you're going to have to call for the vote as the chair. And certainly I get a chance to vote, but you're going to have to carry this motion forward and because I have relinquished.
Okay. Commissioner Atwood. Do we have any other comments? Any other statements?
I have a comment.
I heard.
Is that Commissioner Tate?
Would the commissioner speak up a little louder, please?
Are most of our right-of-ways like 25, 30 feet right-of-ways?
Actually larger.
Someone wrote to 50.
Yes, some are 50. Correct. Does that answer?
Thank you.
Does that answer the question?
That did, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? If not,
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna make one more, and maybe I should hush, but you know me, I can't. I think a lot of our representative of our senator, but I think it was just as important for them to come to us before they introduced a piece of legislation that affected us, as opposed to expecting us to come to them. I'm a little put out because, again, this has happened for the last 2 or 3 years, Mr. Mayor, that this has been proposed, and I don't believe it's ever been brought to the county commission yet as to where we stood, or did they care where we stood. And again, I'm not trying to be ugly or critical, but I think it's as much their responsibility to present it to us and find out where the county feels as it is for them to present it without our input. So,
that's right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments before I call for a vote?
It's voice.
Go ahead. Could I ask for roll?
Sure.
You want a roll call?
I do.
All right, so are we pulling back the voice vote that we did a while ago then?
Well,
I mean, you voice voted a while ago and it all passed, and I got Mr. Williams voting no. So are we backing that out?
well,
What's that?
No, it wasn't. It was on this right here.
He's right.
It was prior to discussion.
We've already had a vote on it.
I think we'd already.
Let me say as chair, I didn't accept that vote. It never was declared. I never from the chair said accepted it. So it's okay, I think, at this point to begin anew with a voice, a roll call vote. Mr. Chair.
Okay. I get to pay tonight, Mike. Okay, we will have, we have a motion for a roll call by Commissioner
All right,
Williams.
take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote, and it will automatically stop you right there. All of you folks on the phone, I'll call your name in just a second, so please stand by as soon as these folks have all voted here, please.
Well,
Mr. Ford?
No.
Ms. Tays?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Randolph? Jerry Randolph?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Anywhere?
I have a question for you. Let me understand this exactly. If you vote no, we're leaving it like it is now. If we vote yes, we're going to end up buying the right of way.
No, you're backwards. If you vote yes, you're keeping it.
I want to leave it like it is. That's the reason I voted no. I thought we were voting for it. I'm against the bill they brought up from Nashville. So I voted no, so it should have been yes.
so you like to change your vote?
Can't.
Yeah.
You already locked in?
Can't. I've done locked it in. It didn't pass. It didn't pass. It passed anyway. It did not fail. You got. Hang on.
Would you call the number?
All that's left is you declaring it passed.
And all votes are in. Locked in.
It's locked.
Okay.
Hold on. We're trying to get this thing to print. Everybody stand by.
You want some soup?
I got a question. Commissioner?
Pardon?
Fairground.
I've got a question.
I understand, but we're trying to get the vote.
Okay.
The vote has already been locked. Excuse me, but I'll get back to you. I'm sorry, I keep taking over. Mr. Martin, you are the chair.
Okay.
Mr. Wilson has.
Let us finish our tabulation. Would you hold just a
Yes.
minute, let him tabulate the vote? Be sure we've tabbed them. We've already voted.
I'm aware of that. But I've got a question about the explanation of what we were voting for as opposed to the verbiage.
Let's do it. Tabulate the votes.
While they're working, Mr. Wilson, we were voting to approve the resolution in opposition to the House bill.
So
Our
if you
vote
were
was to
opposed,
approve a yes,
opposed
a
it,
yes
check
vote.
yes.
A yes vote was to approve the resolution which opposes the House bill. That would be a yes.
Okay,
A
then I
no
need-
would be not to approve the resolution. Does that clarify that, Mr.
Let me, would you, I'll recognize you when we finish the vote.
All right, now, the vote was 17 yes, 7 no, motion carries. So planning committee, item E is passed.
Item E.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Mr.
well,
Wilson, would you like to comment?
I'm glad.
All right, that takes care of item E. Item F, recommend. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin. I appreciate that very kindly. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Item number 6 on our agenda, consider approval of the resolution opposing House Bill 0694 and Senate Bill 0612, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any comment on the motion? Favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you. And that concludes planning.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. You did a great job. We appreciate that very much. Physical review.
Item A, the Fiscal Review Committee recommends approval of budget amendments to the county general fund, and I so move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments on the questions on the general? Mr. Mayor, Mr. Neighbors.
Whew. All right, if you favor the motion, take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote, and it will stop you right there. Same way through all of fiscal review, ladies and gentlemen, for all of you that are on the phone, just as soon as these folks are done here, I will call your names out as I did just a moment ago. All right? Are you ready? Everybody has voted in here. Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Tays?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Randolph?
Yes.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Goes the towel. Yay. Ain't a look. Mr. Chairman, you have 24 voting yes, 0 no, and the roll was called. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item B, Fiscal Review Committee recommends approval of budget amendments to the general purpose school fund, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on general school? Mr. Mr. Neighbors.
All right, take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Stop right there. Ronnie, give me a little more on here, please. All right, Mr. Ford,
Yes.
Ms. Tays,
Yeah.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Randolph,
Yes.
and Mr. Donadio.
Yes.
All right, all votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, we have 24 voting yes, 0 no, 0 abstain or absent. Motion carries. Hang on just a second. Excellent. Thank you, Chris.
Item C, Fiscal Review Committee recommends approval of the plan and resolution authorizing a continuous 5-year reappraisal cycle as presented by the Assessor of Property, Steve Pierce. And I so move.
Second, I'm sorry.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the 5-year? I don't believe I think we can voice vote this. So those favor the motion say aye.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Aye. Those
Mr. Chairman.
opposed, no. Motion carries.
I had a question, but my clicker wasn't working. Sorry. That's all right. The only question I had was just whether this was any different than what we already do, but I guess. So I had a question regarding whether this was any different than our procedure that we already do, or if this was just normal.
Absolutely. We're staying on the same plan.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Mr. Chairman, that completes Fiscal Review.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that. And nominating.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nominating Committee recommends Joe Iwanazan to serve on the Rail Trail Authority Board for a 3-year term to expire December 2023, and I so move.
Second. Got a motion and a second. When I call for discussion, if anyone has and wants to make another nomination, you can do that during discussion. So I'll ask for discussion on the nomination of Mr. Iwanazan. Hearing none, favor the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries.
That concludes nominating.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Report of special committees.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'm on planning, and I know I'm kind of out of line, but I wanted to go back to something Mr. Williams brought up. It's always been a problem about streets and streets close together, and I assumed that something like that went through some kind of filter, through law enforcement, through 911, through fire, through somebody other than just a committee making up names. Is there a filter before it gets to us?
Well, and let me address that as regional planning. Certainly the development comes to us. Regional planning sees it first. The developer names the streets. He goes, I assume, probably through the road department to make sure that that street has not been used. But it comes to regional planning. We approve the preliminary plat, and then the final, and then it goes to Mr. Jones and our road committee, who then oversees those roads and accepts them, and then finally it comes to the county commission, and we are the last entity that rubber stamps the name of that road.
It's not me and you getting together and naming up some names. It actually goes through a filter system.
It does, and the developer gets the option to name them. I mean, it's his option to give names to his development. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The 911 director also reviews those and approves them before they ever come back to the planning commission. So they review them too. And I know what Jonathan is saying. There's also a thought process that if it's all in one subdivision and they make sure that the house numbers are not anywhere close to each other, they're in different numerical sequences, that they're at least going to be in the subdivision. Before, we used to have where we'd have one road that would be in Monterey and another one would be in Baxter with the same names. That caused a problem, but it's not as much of a problem today with the GIS mapping and everything that it was.
Mr. Chairman?
Just a second.
I was just
going
to suggest it, and I know that by the time it gets here, it's basically a done deal. But I might suggest that at some point earlier in the process, perhaps we put a caveat or whatever the word is in naming roads, a condition that they can't have the same primary name. Maybe a theme, perhaps. I've seen where you use maybe president's name, or NFL football team's names. Use a theme, but don't use the same primary name where the old, for differentiator is ST or DR or WI. When seconds matter, these little things can slow down. So just food for thought, maybe that could be put as a filter a little bit further up the line.
Well, just to comment, I live in one. White Plains has got Plantation, North Plantation, South Plantation, Plantation View, Plantation Court. So your point's well taken. I mean, and we have had the issue occasionally that trying to locate. Commissioner Moss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I take this under advisement. It's very well noted, and I think it is a kind of a problem. Being a member of the Regional Planning Committee, I will make this point to help avoid this happening. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very kindly. All right, let's move on. Any special committees report? Any resolutions?
No resolution, Mr. Chairman.
How about notice? You got some of them?
I have got a bunch of them tonight. Katie Autry, Alexia Bohannon, Melissa Bonavici, Aranda Burgess, Emily Deal, Tabitha Dyer, Marcia Eldridge, Catherine Gibbs, Randy Hicks, Cynthia R. Irwin, Brooke Kearney, Cindy Langley, Kimberly McQuiston, Robert Miller, Madison Monty, Charles Pritchard, Brianne Pryor, Terry Lee Ridley, Cynthia Michelle Rogers, Toby Russell, Margaret Sox, Lionel Sagastamy, yeah, that's right, Randall Short, Angel Cersei, Pearl Thomas, David Vasquez, Regina Walker, Regina Wiggins, Chandra Woodill, and lastly, Rachel Zudsman.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Neighbors.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this one we do have to vote. So if you will take your handsets and just press yes for me, please. That will be good. We always do that. We have Mr. Ford. We're voting on notaries now.
Yes.
Ms. Taves.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yeah.
Mr. Randolph.
Yes.
Mr. Donadio.
Yes.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. 24 votes yes, 0 no, 0 abstain, 0 absent. Motion carries. They are approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other new business. Item 1, recognizing cash flow analysis of the monthly budget to the actual report for the general purpose school fund. That should be in your group. Any discussion on that? It is recognized. Item number 2 is the ratification of County Mayor Randy Porter's reappointments to the Health and Safety Standards Board. 4-year term. Anita Bay, Kathy Real, term to expire in 25. Any discussion? Need a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Again, this is a ratification, so there is no new nominees. Favor the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 3 is ratification of the County Mayor Randy Porter's appointments to the Regional Solid Waste Committee as follows. Doug Ashburn to a 6-year term to end in 2020. That can't be right. Oh, is it just replacing Keith's term? So it is 2024 then.
Motion to approve.
As written.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Favor the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. I'm sorry. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, folks, let me just say, this was a great night to be back together. Can you imagine us doing this virtually? It's been a good night, a lot of good discussion. I appreciate so much your participation in being here tonight, and I think it went well, and I appreciate all the comments. Anybody else with an announcement or a statement?
I got a statement.
All right, Mr. Jimmy.
I would like to thank John Ross and his crew, and the IT people who set all this up. I know that this is a lot of work, but speaking for myself, and I think several of the commissioners that I've talked to, we just like being with each other, and I enjoy this, and I just want to thank the mayor and everybody for making sure that this is up and running smooth, and it's even good to see Jim Herron over here.
Danny home.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. I agree with you. Let me say the intentions, folks, for next month are to be together. We're going to monitor, but my intentions, and I think the mayor's too is to do it back the old way. Committees on second Monday and commission on third Monday, and we're intending to be back in chambers. Now, that's the intentions. If you get an email that changes that, don't be upset, but that's at this point what we're thinking. Am I ratifying your thoughts too, Mayor?
Yes, sir. Things keep going in the direction it's going.
Okay, so that's what's on scale for April. Anybody else? Any other comments? Folks, thanks again. We stand adjourned.